Welcome back to Build Your Legacy. My name is Steven. I'm here with Brandon. We are commissioners of Build Your Legacy. Today, we want to get on here and just talk about some of the rule changes we recently made. So, speaking to the other commissioners, it's July 14th. The early access comes out tomorrow, the 15th. We kind of want to go over a few things that we had changed, just that way everybody knows and everybody's on the same page. So, the first thing, we changed the fourth down rule. We went from 4th and 4 to now 4th and 2. Seeing the gameplay, seeing how explosive the offenses were and how hard it looked to play defense, we definitely wanted to make that change. Brandon, I want to kick it to you. Why do you feel like it was like a big deal, or I'm not a big deal? Why do you feel like it was imperative that we made that change?
Yeah, so like you said, when we was watching the gameplay, we seen how explosive. Obviously, everybody knows that college is a lot more explosive than the NFL is, and the fourth down rule. It seemed like that we wouldn't have anybody punting the ball ever because it was so explosive. And they was getting anything they wanted out there, and obviously we haven't got a chance to play the game yet, and we don't know what they're going to change, if they might not change anything before we get the game. But the league also doesn't start for 2 weeks. But we had some users that said, hey, the fourth down rule, we think it needs to be a little bit more strict. We took that into consideration. And we saw the gameplay like everybody else did yesterday, and it was a very explosive offensive thing. So we was like, if we can just make the game a little bit more strict on the fourth down side, then it could be a lot more competitive for our league moving forward.
Definitely. I think it'll be more balanced. Obviously, with the 4th and 4, I just don't anticipate us seeing a lot of 4th and 4 mores. We're not going to get any punts, and punting is a part of football. So 4th and 2, we felt like was a better, more balanced option for our fourth down rules. But moving on, something that we didn't change because we never really hit on. And this is very important. We are doing head coaches only, guys. So it's only going to be head coaches, so no coordinator positions. And that's going to be very big when the coaching carousel, comes into play. The game comes out tomorrow. Brandon and I are going to go through a bunch of mock seasons, a bunch of simulation seasons, to see what it looks like after, simulating a whole season, see what kind of job offers we get. If they don't let us manually make it to where this head coaches only, like in Madden, you can pick owners only or coaches only. We're going to enforce a rule within BYL where at the end of every year, you can only take a job if they're offering you the head coach job. The reason being, we saw Bordeaux. He's a popular YouTuber. He had the Kennesaw State, or I'm sorry, not the expert. He had the Kennesaw State job. He went 8-4 and lost the conference championship. And he got the Mississippi State or Ole Miss offensive coordinator job. That's just not realistic. We don't want people to be able to jump right to a top tier SEC school in year one. So hopefully they have a setting to where we can do head coaches only. If they don't, the rule we're going to put in place is once the year is over, you can only take a head coach job if it is a head coach job. You cannot take an offensive coordinator at Alabama and then move up. You can only take a head coach job if it's offered to you. And those of you guys who have not been very active in the chat and haven't seen updates, we are no longer using our made team projections list. We're going strictly off of the coaching carousel in the game. That's the reason why I deleted the picture with all the coaching or the team projections. We're just going to go off of the ones in the game. The coaching carousel they made seems pretty good. So unless it's completely broken, and we'll find that out tomorrow when we do our simulations and mock runs, we're going to use that. But again, head coaches only. And on top of that, you must create a coach. You cannot use an existing coach in the game. You have to create a coach. So we're all at level 1. That's a part of Build Your Legacy. Brandon, is there anything you want to add as far as head coaches and stuff like that?
No, I think you pretty much hit on everything there.
Okay. The third thing that I do want to hit on as well, let me pull up my notes, is a possible gameplay sliders. So obviously, when this game was out 10 years ago, the majority of us, I know some of the the league is older. I'm 28, so I was 18 when that game came out. Games were hard back then for me. When there's no, like 10 years ago, there wasn't YouTube channels telling you how to cheese the computer and how to cheese the game. So games were just hard. So I'm hoping that this game is just hard to win against the CPU as well. But for whatever reason, if we load up tomorrow using Kennesaw State and I can beat Alabama by 21 points, then we're going to need to adjust some gameplay sliders. So that way everybody is getting a struggle and it is an actual grind to move up. But Brandon, what do you think about that as far as gameplay sliders? Obviously, it's not something we decided on, for sure, concretely. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, we don't want it to be too easy for the users, especially I know like there's a lot of different players in here that has different skill levels, but once we load into there tomorrow and if we're able to beat these good teams pretty good, then that's something we'll definitely try to adjust just because we want to keep it as balanced as possible. If I'm Kennesaw State and I go to Alabama, I should lose by 40 points realistically, but I'm probably won't lose that bad in the game. Hopefully I do, but we gotta try to create a balance because we don't want everybody to load in week one because we're going to have some out of conference schedules that is pretty hard. Where I might have to go play at Clemson on the road, you might have to go play at Florida State, and those are going to be games that everybody has to do. And if we're all beating the CPU on the highest difficulty, that's a problem because it's just not realistic, especially once we're starting at these low tier programs.
Yeah, and I also want to make sure we make note of this. We understand there are going to be one-offs where out of the 32 users, maybe 10 of us beat a hard team, which is okay because it happens in real life. We saw App
Yeah.
State beat A&M, we saw them beat Michigan. So that happens in real life, but at the end of the day, it shouldn't be 25 of 32 users all, completely obliterating a top 25 team. That's not realistic. So we just want to keep everything real. We want to make it a true grind from having to move from a 1-star or 2-star all the way up to a 5-star. We don't want it to be easy where we already saw recruiting, and that's kind of been an issue in my perspective, in my opinion.
Same here.
So, we'll see how recruiting goes. But we want to make it hard on the field because if you're going 4-8 on the field, chances are you're not going to be able to recruit the highest players, or people are going to start transferring out. So that's going to be a way we balance it. Again, we don't want to make it impossible, but everybody in here wants to join a competitive real life league. And if you're using Kennesaw State, you shouldn't be able to beat Georgia in week 1 by 21 points. It just simply is not realistic. And obviously the game comes out tomorrow, so there's probably going to be a patch in the next week or two. That's why we're waiting to put the game out or put the league start in. So we will keep everybody kind of up to date, keep everybody posted on what we decide to do. But this is just something we want to kind of put out, a league update, so to speak, with the pre-release or the early access coming out tomorrow. Brandon, is there anything else you want to hit on before we head out of here?
Oh yes, let's mention the progression. Like this is how it's at normal. You can do the coach's XP normal, slow, and
Yes.
then you can do it fast where you're gaining XP.
Okay, so for those of you guys who don't know what he's talking about, in NCAA, it's not like Madden. So in NCAA, you start off as a coach, you're level 1. As you progress or as you get a first down, you get a touchdown, you might assign a 5-star, your coaching XP bar goes up. The faster your coaching XP bar goes up, you unlock those little tokens. Those tokens give you the ability to access more, we'll call them branches on your coaching tree, which gives you ability to recruit, which gives you ratings boosts, all those things, all those knickknacks, all those different abilities. Just like players have abilities, coaches have abilities in this game. So with that being said, what we're going to do, so to speak, as far as the simulation and the mocks, Brendan and I tomorrow are going to go through on a normal setting, and we're going to sim the year and see how fast you can get up to, let's say, level 20 and what that gets you. If that gets you way too much in the coaching tree, what we may do for the league is put us on slow progression. So that way it's really a grind having to move your coach and level him up. Because if you guys watch the Dynasty Deep Dive, those higher Power 5 schools are looking to recruit a new coach based on coach prestige, based on fit, based on pipeline, but coach prestige is a major factor. So if your coach is already at level 30 after year 1 or level 25, or whatever the high level is after year 1, that's going to make it easier for all of us to move up. We don't want it to be easy. We already saw recruiting. There's no recruiting difficulty. So we definitely want to hit home when as far as what we can control to make everything harder. And again, we don't want to make it impossible. We know there's a few guys in here that have never played online leagues before, but we want to kind of find a balance between the hardcore competitive guys and the guys who are newer. At the end of the day, everybody's gonna have to grow into their own. It's a new game. We're all gonna have growing pains and adjustments from Madden and stuff like that. So we just want to make everything kind of a progressive learning curve for everyone. We don't want it to be super easy for others, super hard for others. So that's kind of where I stand. Is there anything you want to add? Anything else you want to add to it though?
Yeah, I'll speak on recruiting a little bit because I know that's been the big issue with everybody. And we noticed in the video that a lot of there was a 5-star that wasn't being recruited by any school, and he was recruiting him by himself. You got to look at it from a league where there's 32 of us, and if we see a 5-star that hasn't been offered, there's going to be 32 offers on him the very next day. So you got to look at it from that perspective too, because we're all going to go after those players, especially if there's some that don't have any offers for whatever reason. It won't be going to the same user like you saw in the video. It'll be going to like everybody at that point because there's going to be a bunch of people that offer that particular player. And then a deal breaker would be like you're far from home or you start losing games because you are going to lose games. And we noticed in the sim, like he was just giving himself some force wins and stuff to make it easier. But I wouldn't stress too much about recruiting if you're watching this video because I think it'll get easier with like letting 5-stars and 4-stars go to those bigger schools, and we'll still be on the realistic playing field when it comes to those type of players from that perspective.
Definitely. Let us know in the Discord or the comment section, whichever is easier, or DM either me or Brandon, any of the suggestions you have, any other questions you have. One other thing I do want to hit on, because I've heard this question twice from two different users yesterday and today actually. As far as defensive pre-play, I know some people had questions as far as can I move a person after snap? The pre-play is you can only move one guy on defense. So if I move the safety, I can only use him and I have to stay on him until the offense hikes the ball. Once the offense hikes the ball, you can move to wherever the hell you want to move to with the switch stick, however you want to do it. You don't have to stay on that certain guy. Two guys were confused about that. They thought that once you hike, you have to stay on one guy. You can't use a switch stick. No, the only reason why we bring up the pre-play defensive rule is so that way I can't come out in a cover 3 and then move my safety to this side, put linebacker up, put a D tackle back, put a D end outside. And because we saw in Madden, we see a lot of guys move the defensive ends out so they can run in faster, or they bring the corners down so they can run in faster. So stuff like that. You can only move one guy and you have to stay on him. After the ball is hiked, you can do whatever you want. That there's no restrictions as far as that go. You could switch 10 times in a play if that's what you want to do. That's what your heart desires. But before the play, you can only move one. Is there anything else we're missing?
Yeah, I got a question similar to that yesterday. Someone said that if he's using a certain player because let's say somebody's doing trips right, and he grabs his safety and he like using his safety to that side and he motions the guy all the way over to the other side, can he like move his safety back to where he was originally was and go and grab the other safety? And I told him that was fine because he's moving the guy back to where his original place was, and the only reason why he was using that safety from the jump was because of what he saw pre-play. So once the dude motioned his receiver all the way over to the other side, he can move his safety back up to where he originally was and then go user the safety to the other side. Since that was the main reason why he was using his safety from the jump on that side of the field.
Definitely. I will say you guys just need to be careful with that. We can't motion snap, so there's no motion snapping, but be careful with that because there are plays in this game that have motions. And if you're one of those guys who can't tell if it's a manual motion or if it's a motion in game, we see all these trickeries and all that stuff. Me to make sure, because if you move a guy up and then you try to move the other guy down and you get caught and he doesn't move back up, that is a rule break. So just make sure. And again, if a guy is standing on the exact 37-yard line and you get him to the 36, we're not going to be critical on that. But don't say, well, I didn't have enough time. You'll get a warning, whatever the case may be. But if it becomes a consistent thing, then there's going to be a fine. So please keep that in mind. Obviously, if people are flipping plays, it's a lot easier to move people around. So it gives you more time. But just be mindful on motions because some motions are not manually done. That's somebody pressing hike, then the guy's motioning, and then the ball snaps by itself. So we just don't want someone to get caught in no man's land and now you break a rule. But again, that's something that we have to kind of, have a feeling out process of. So I'm sure we'll figure that out. But like we said, DM us if you have any questions. Use the Discord, however you guys want to reach us, however you guys want to contact us. Let us know if there's any recommendations, anything you guys don't like anything like that. The game comes out tomorrow, fellas. So I'm going to post this game immediately. It is 9 Eastern right now. This video will be up by 10 Eastern. And we'll kind of get everything in order. Like I said, Brandon and I are going to spend a couple hours tomorrow and the rest of this week kind of going through simulations and mocks, making sure everything, lines up. There is play cooldown and play limit. So there will be a 5-play cooldown and a 5-play limit. A 5-play cooldown means you have to call a play. So let's say I call inside zone out of trips left. You won't be able to call that play again until you call 5 other plays. And the 5-play limit means you can only call that play 5 times a game. So you need to be mindful with no custom playbooks. If you find a go-to play, you're only going to be able to run it 5 times a game. And you're going to have to run it within 25 plays because you need to call 5 other plays in between them. So keep that in mind as well. That is going to be a thing. If it gets to a point where there are certain plays that are just ultimate cheese, we may knock the play limit down to 4. You can only run a play 4 times, 1 per quarter, whatever the case may be. We're going to make adjustments. Bear with us. It's a new game. There's going to be growing pains. So there's going to be rule changes as we go. We'll try to do them at the end of every year rather than the middle of the year, stuff like that. But we will catch you guys later. We look forward to playing the game with everybody. We'll see you guys later this week. Peace out, everybody.